really know what's going on over there other than everybody's dumb.
The instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws and they're going to use it on you.
Woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way. It's super cringe.
All the time, Eric Butler, feeling fine. Eric,
what's up?
In Texas. Dallas, Texas?
Yes, sir.
Dallas, Fort Worth area.
Can I just say, I'm still...
You can.
This is random, but I still feel like the intro is very good. So kudos to you on that. James Klug quote, Bryson, good stuff.
James Klug is still out there, I feel like, every day, learning the terrible ideas of Californians. Even though I think he lives in a fairly conservative area of California, it's still the plague of California extends everywhere. If you look on a map, I don't even know if you remember this South Park episode where they had a smug cloud. It reminds me of that. So how CPAC highlight so far? Let's get into it. Alex Stein offending people there. Displays of the January 6th people.
Yeah.
Trump's there. Everybody's there. How's it going?
Yeah, so it's actually over. I thought it was weird because it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, when in theory you think it would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but whatever. Yeah, it was actually really fun. Everybody's there. I think the highlight of my particular time there was talking to Dr. Peter McCullough. We spoke to him for about 5 or 10 minutes. He was super cool, super down to earth. Obviously, Alex Stein was there. That was a fun thing. It was kind of a whirlwind, bro. We must have talked to maybe 24 people, just short little clips, short little interviews. I was personally trying to figure out what was at the top of people's lists as far as their concerns, right? So we have this laundry list of problems, whether it's the border, it's inflation, gas prices, crime, whatever it might be. And I was trying to figure out what was number one on the list. And we haven't tallied the results yet, but we'll find out soon.
For sure. You want to tell everybody about this January 6th performance art? I think it was Brandon Straka that did it. A lot of weird reactions to that on both sides, I think. Personally, I feel like it's a weird thing, but also that they're trying to bring awareness to the fact that there's people in solitary confinement and such for things that are very minuscule crimes, I think. And then also that Jimmy Kimmel's people didn't get sentenced to anything at all or charged with anything at all.
But those were Colbert's people.
Who did I say? Jimmy Kimmel?
Kimmel.
Right.
Same
Colbert.
Same.
They're all.
Same thing.
Yeah, I know. For legal purposes, we must say Stephen Colbert. Yeah, tell everybody about that, and then we'll show some of the video you got.
Yeah. So, Brandon Straka. I'm always confused.
Straka.
Some people say Straka. Some people say I've heard the A is silent. Whatever. Same guy. Founder of Walk Away. So he was actually on a panel. About the January 6th. I forget the name of the panel, but it was like, it was Welcome to the New Gulag or something like that. A panel with some Republican representatives. And so that was actually before the performance art that we saw. So I think that this probably deserves a little context because he actually, and I think I was Representative Andy Biggs, I believe, was probably not prepared for, I guess, what some might call an ambush. So they're on the panel, and Brandon turns and looks at him and says, me, along with all these other January 6th prisoners, we went through hell, and he kind of got a little turned up on him and said, what are you going to do about it? And I think that sort of threw Representative Biggs for a loop, and he thought maybe it was going to be a friendly. And then Brandon plugged. He said, okay, he literally called it performance art. Like, that's not a shot at him. That's what he called it. And he said, if you come to my booth, I'm going to be doing a piece to represent the January 6th prisoners. And that's what the video that you're seeing there. Now, my thing is, and again, this is what might not be so popular, and perhaps I'm just ignorant, perhaps I'm just naive to the whole thing, but this is the war that we're in, bro. Like, what are you expecting? What do you want for a congressional representative to do? To go to DC and start cracking some skulls, to start flipping tables in Nancy Pelosi's office? Like, I don't know what their purview is. I don't know what they're genuinely capable of doing. So maybe I just need a little bit more concrete example of what they want, because like I said, this is the war that we're in. This is the two-tier justice system that we've been dealing with for since before January 6th. And I always talk about what happened to me in New York and the as compared to the George Floyd protesters. So that's the first thing, is that I'm not exactly sure what we expect these people to do, because it's the evil left-wing Democrats, the radicals, who are holding these people as political prisoners. And without hot kinetic war, I'm not exactly sure how it's supposed to end. And secondly, I think one thing that CNN, as they were reporting on it, one thing that's very important that they left out is the fact that Brandon did kind of lash out at some Republicans, but they would never say that. They would never say that Brandon Straka was angry at these Republicans because he feels they didn't do enough to get the January 6th prisoners out. Because when you watch their reporting, they frame it to the point where the Republican Party thinks that January 6th wasn't a big deal, and that's crazy to them. Like, they're in this completely different world, to the point where anybody who doesn't think that everybody who went to DC on the 6th, anybody who doesn't think they're crazy and should be in solitary confinement, it's very diluted, bro. It's a crazy story. But and I guess last thing about it is Brandon wins. In the end, he wins because CNN's talking about it. I don't know if it's made it to Fox, but he wanted the attention. He got the attention, and I think we should be looking harder at getting these guys out. It's just that I truly don't have the answers. I don't know what these congressional reps or senators are supposed to do. I really don't. So I would like a little clarity on that.
Now, Brandon Straka, I believe I was about to book him on my show when all this started going down, and they told me, he's getting involved with all the January 6th stuff, in the sense that the feds are coming for him. That was it was so long ago. I guess it was like 2 years ago almost now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I remember from that. So if people are confused, he was somehow or another there at January 6th. And of course, he's not in solitary confinement, but there's so many people that are. And I think the reason why so many Republicans, rhinos mostly, but some other ones, don't want to get involved in that is because there are people like Baked Alaska and the Q Shaman guy who are involved, and they have very sketchy, we'll just say, pasts or presence even, and they're involved. And then of course you've got all the FBI and the 3%ers and the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. So there's so many different things involved with January 6th. I think people are kind of hoping that they won't be asked about it, like this, was it a representative or a congressman?
Congressman Andy Biggs, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congressman. They're probably hoping that they don't have to field questions about that. And I think that would be fine if there weren't people sitting in jail for these minuscule crimes. Yes, I believe it's a federal crime to go into these offices specifically, and you can't be taking pictures and everything. And then, of course, some sort of federal trespassing. Does that warrant solitary confinement? I don't think so. Especially in the face of, like we mentioned, Stephen Colbert's people not facing any stuff at all, even though they were kicked out and then came back. A lot of these people on January 6th were led in by the police. And then, of course, all these groups I mentioned are led by feds. An Oath Keeper just got arrested the other day. I believe it's one of the guys who's at the top. And then, of course, Enrique Tarrio. I saw that you had a picture of a shirt of Free Enrique Tarrio, or he did nothing wrong.
Yes. Perfect. Dude, it was such a whirlwind. We talked to so many people, but yeah, I guess I would like to use this particular moment to, I guess, plug the Alternative Reporter YouTube channel and Instagram page, because we talked to so many people. It's going to be a couple days, perhaps a week before all this stuff comes out. But we had a pretty enlightening interview with Enrique's mom.
Wow.
So that's where I got the shirt. And she's got like a crew, I guess a little crew of people, I don't know, like, I don't want to say assistants, but like, just a little crew of people, and they all had the Enrique Tarrio did nothing wrong shirt. I saw the shirt, saw a young lady was wearing it. I approached her. She was super nice. And then she was like, "Oh yeah, like I'm with Enrique's mom, so if you want to talk to her, she'll probably talk to you." I mean, they're short. It's not like podcast style, like long form interviews. Just quick little, while we're sort of just mingling. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. And there's a lot of fun stuff. Enrique's mom, I should say. We also we didn't talk to because the Proud Boys, they don't talk because obviously it's behind Donald Trump. The Proud Boys have probably got the worst media coverage perhaps ever. Like Donald Trump, Proud Boys. So they don't talk, but as I understand it, we saw a couple in the convention, and they literally had told us that one of the left-wing journalists, they stick out like a sore thumb. They're wearing KN95 masks, like 2 masks and stuff. So you can see them a mile away. But apparently, I didn't confirm this on my own, but my buddy Nick talked to them and said that they had literally been doxxed like moments earlier. So he kind of approached him like, hey, like, he pitched him on what we're doing as far as like the alternative reporter thing. And I think they believed him. I think they were cool with him. It's not like they're like, I don't trust you. It's like, dude, literally like 10 minutes ago, one of these left wingers took a picture of us. I don't know, some sort of reverse Google search. I don't know how they do it. It's not my wheelhouse, but they had been doxxed and people were already like, I guess, sort of harassing them. So the left wing media was there in full force, and they're just so creepy, bro. It's weird, and it's very weird to actually be in there, see the booths, see exactly where they're standing. I was just there, and I can watch their reporting, most notably Vice and CNN, and this is not surprising. I don't know why I let it surprise me, but being right where you were, like probably taking an interview with somebody right where you were standing, and then watching your framing is just, it all puts it into perspective. And this is what they've been doing for at the very minimum 5 or 6 years. So it's eye-opening for me.
30.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I think
CNN's green screens. Remember when they pretend they were getting bombed in Iraq?
Of course, I do. Yes, and you're right. It's been decades.
Gulf War or something. Yeah.
But I do think, for better or for worse, Trump did kind of help kick down. He sort of kneecapped the facade, so it just started to crumble a little bit more. And of course, the social media with everybody having a cell phone in their pocket and just being able to but yeah, man, it was a great time. So be on the lookout, bro. We're gonna have a whole bunch of like little clips and videos and stuff coming out, and people will at least see a more neutral, just regular dude. Like I don't work for any big company. Shout out Tatum Report, but it's not a huge thing. He didn't pay me to be here. We're not on anybody's payroll, so you're not gonna get the weird left
brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah, you're not going to get any of that. You're just going to see like what actually went down in there from our perspective, kind of like how I used to do in New York, man. It was just me on the ground with a cell phone. So very similar stuff.
Of course, and we are on Spotify, Google Play, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube, unauthorizedopinions.com, or uopod.com if that's too long for you to remember. Thank you for everybody watching, and we are the number
Twitch,
one podcast.
Do not forget the Twitch stream.
Don't forget the 7 people on Twitch. But we are the number one podcast on Getter. Until Jason Miller tells me that I'm wrong, I'm going to keep saying it. Shout out CEO of Getter, Jason Miller. Shout out Sonny Nelson of Getter as well. One more thing about CPAC. You had that video with Alex Stein, which is very funny. And there was also this video Alex Stein published where he was, let's say, not criminally harassing a Vice reporter. He was bothering her. I wanted to use the word harass, but that's a crime. So I'm not going to say criminally harassing. I'm going to say bothering her, trolling her for upwards of 5 minutes. I want to say like 2.5 minutes, the length of a Twitter video. And he's mocking her for wearing a mask, asking her if she feels unsafe. He's also asking her about working for Vice and if she stands up for what they show, which I used to follow them on Twitter for the lulls of it all, but even that was too much. They get no engagement at all from their weird stories. He asked if she's a drug addict like the rest of the people. And then he asked if she thinks Biden's doing a good job. She wouldn't answer anything. She kept bragging how she's like meant to be pressed there or something. My question to you, Eric, is do you think that was too far? I saw somebody on Newsmax, I can't remember his name, say this isn't cool. they're a little bit. They want to be establishment a little bit there at Newsmax. I still like them, but that's how I see it. Do you think that was too far? Do you think it was just enough? Could he have gone further? What's your perspective of having met him now?
I don't think it was too far at all. These people, look, man, the Vice News people will go to bat for the establishment, bro. They are CNN for millennials and maybe even some Gen Zers. Like they are what CNN lacks in 35 and under. Vice News picks up, like Alex mentioned, with their weird stories about drugs and how like these weird hygiene stories and all sorts of strip like weird sexual stuff that they cover. So she would waste no time smearing him. She wouldn't waste any time smearing anybody in that entire event. So for me personally, I don't think that was too far. And I will say, for better or for worse, or maybe this is in her defense a little bit, she was getting it. I saw her around there multiple times in the convention, and she was getting it. Like I saw let's just say 2 or 3 I'd say 3 other occasions of CPAC attendees and other media people, bro. Like perhaps conservative media. I don't even know what company they were with, but other media people, because you could just tell by the badges what color the badges were, who were actually very critical of her. And I don't know if you guys watched her report from CPAC.
No.
So I saw her myself. I took pictures of it. I don't know if it's expired from my story. I forget how long ago I posted it. It might have been 2 days ago. I forget. But I saw her, took a picture, and then I just happened to see her report because I do follow Vice News on Instagram, and I saw the report. And it's just the framing, bro. It's like they try to make it seem. I mean, obviously they want to make it seem like anybody who even remotely. Of course, if you support Donald Trump, you're an absolute madman. But just for going to CPAC, you're just some sort of rube. Like I could send it to you. It's probably not even worth watching. But the framing is like inside the wild world of MAGA CPAC, and it's like here we have a dollar bill with Donald Trump's face on it. It's like, yeah, it's kitschy stuff, bro. It's like this woman, they clearly live in their bubble. They are not willing to come out. They're in this flyover. These are the people that use the term flyover, not ironically, but seriously. Like, well, I work in a cubicle in Brooklyn, or I work in a cubicle in San Francisco. So anybody outside of that realm is just a complete rube. You didn't go to college. So the framing is just through the roof. And I promise you, man, like I can't go to bat for everybody at CPAC, but the vibes were good, bro. They're networking, they're talking. Nobody, like, even if you watch her video, the people that she is clearly trying to smear are still being super nice to her. Now they probably don't know who she is. They're not following Vice News like I am. Like I can put 2 and 2 together immediately and see but nobody was. The only people that were rude to her were, to be honest with you, I'm not going to name names, but a couple other media people that were. And when I say rude, I mean like literally going up to her and saying, "What's your angle? Like what?" Of course, she's not going to admit. She's not going to say, "I'm taking a far left wing angle to this." But the guy goes, "So what's your angle? Like what point of view are you trying to cover for?" And she. They won't talk, just like when she wouldn't talk to Alex Stein. So I said all that to say, I don't think he went too far. Now, I did hear through the grapevine rumors that apparently he was asked to leave, perhaps because of that. Like she might have, again, this is kind of like through the grapevine, but apparently he was asked to leave, and then Marjorie Taylor Greene invited him as her guest the next day. So he got ejected, and then she got him back in. I don't know. I don't know. I guess the rumor's already out there now, so can't take it back.
Well,
but that's what I heard.
I think what a lot of the people on the left wing wouldn't know is that CPAC or a TPUSA event, these aren't, outrageous people. They won't invite a Bryson Gray there. They won't invite, like, Alex Stein's the edgiest person that's there. And I don't think they understand that. I don't think they understand that there are tons of people. Maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene's the edgiest person there, but I don't think they understand that these events, they kind of have a lot of gatekeeping at them. So to say that it's like some, like they do frame it like it's some sort of carnival of freaks or something. Of course they're going to do that, but when you have zero coverage of something, you're going to pretend like it's the Flat Earth Convention, which still,
Yeah.
the Flat Earth Convention is also, I feel like the gatekeepers of the flat Earth world, according to that terrible Netflix documentary. But I want to say regarding like questioning this Vice girl, I think it's fair to say, um, do you stand behind what your company does? But I think when a company gets really big, it's harder to make a person defend that because CNN internet, like CNN's a terrible place, but CNN International probably has nothing to do with CNN in Atlanta, Georgia. So I think with some places it's fair where it's like MSNBC is pretty far left wing, or um, if you work for InfoWars, I think it'd be pretty fair to ask if a person stands behind InfoWars. But I've had people come up to me and be like, what do you think about the coverage on this and that? And I'll just be like, I don't care. Like, have you ever seen me cover that? And it's like, I literally don't care. People, I imagine on both sides, because I do. I have got it from mainly right wing people. Left wing people think, that I'm some sort of, I don't want to say Klansman, but they think that I'm going to Bohemian Grove or something like that. And I'll get a quick anecdote about that in a second. But people will come up to you and they'll tell you how they think you should report, where they don't know anything about what you've done. So I think in that sense, Alex Stein is there to troll. So this isn't maybe his beat, but if you're a regular person and you're just like, Vice girl, you're garbage or whatever, I feel like you maybe should know a couple things that she's written, or like you said, like you've seen her report. I think you should know a little bit of what they've done, because there are people who, there have been right-wing people like that Paris Denard guy. He was on CNN. He's right-wing and he gets kicked off. So if you just heard that he worked for CNN, maybe you would think that he's a piece of garbage. But I agree that there are some outlets like that. I would say MSNBC, who's a little bit crazier, and InfoWars, even though I agree with a lot of what they say, they're really out there. And I think it is fair to say, like, would you stand behind the rest of your company's work because it's more lock and step? Whereas a company maybe like I can't. It's hard for me to think of one right now. Maybe Newsmax, like I mentioned, or maybe Fox News. There's such wide ranging opinions at Fox News. Do you work for Tucker Carlson's show, or do you work for Fox and Friends, or Kennedy Nation, or something like that, or Gutfeld? Like, they're pretty far ranging in their opinions. Some really close to the center or center left, and some further out there. But I wanted to give an anecdote about somebody who's conservative, probably. I think I was going out and doing streeters and visiting a university here in Toronto. They have a booster mandate to go into residences. So if you want to live on campus, you need 3 of the elixirs, and which is crazy because the rest of the school doesn't require it. So just to live there, and I'm a bit of the wild card, so I just see a Catholic building, the Catholic something diocese of the university. Doors open, I'm walking in. I want to get some opinions from there. We have a lot of Christians and a couple Catholics at our company, and I'm just like, they usually have thought out opinions. I go in there, I ask this girl her opinion, she gives it to me. I'm like, can I go upstairs? They're like, there's nobody else around. Like, we walk into this building, there's nobody there. We walk in, there's one girl sitting at a big table. She says, yeah, it should be fine for you to go walk upstairs. We walk upstairs past the pictures of Mother Mary and maybe the Pope or something, I don't remember. And shout out Pope. And there's this woman sitting in office, an older woman, and we're like, is it okay if we can film in here? She's like, you certainly cannot film in here without permission. And we're just like, okay, well, so-and-so said we could. But we walk back down, and like in a joking manner, I'm like, you told me I could go up there. And the look on this girl's face was like, I could see the gears turning that she Googled us in the time we went upstairs. And she wanted to be like, this guy's racist, but his cameraman's brown, and like you could see it all being very confusing to her. She wouldn't answer any more questions.
The 404 error message. Yeah.
I was like, you're looking at me like you don't trust me anymore. And she's like, yeah, like she nods. And I'm just like, I could see these gears turning. Like, I'm supposed to hate you, but I also can't. And I was a little disappointed that this Catholic person, when I speak to religious people from all backgrounds, they usually have thought out their ideas because they get under attack due to their religion, no matter what it is. And I was disappointed, but that was a little bit of a story about a right wing person doing that. I've had people come up and ask me about Israel Palestine. I've had people come up and say, "Oh, you shill for this," and I've straight up said, like, I didn't come here to listen to your shit, dude. So and it's always like almost always little creepy weird white guys, usually bald, and they have just been waiting for months to come up and tell you what you should be reporting on. And then Andrew says isn't going to take that. I'm sorry, Eric Butler of TatumReport.com, but Andrew says isn't going to take that. He's going to be the person who tells you exactly what he says. But I'm glad you got to go there.
I was.
Go ahead.
I think. Well, last thing, and there was so much, bro. Like, I wish I could. We could talk about it more. It's hard to like recall all of it, but I will say we were actually fairly disappointed that we didn't see any pushback, bro. That we didn't see any protesters outside. Literally one protester out the whole weekend. That's not to say they 100% weren't there, but the whole thing, we saw one protester on the sidewalk outside of the convention center, and the only other people was CNN and Vice News in there. Those are the only other people that I think, and there are definitely different opinions. Very quick anecdote, I guess, is that we were talking to people about if they wanted Trump to run, who they would like to see on that ticket, which I think is a fair question. Because I genuinely couldn't come up with anybody of like, could DeSantis be on the ticket with Trump? And there's some conflict because they're both residents of Florida. And there's all sorts of weird things. So I just wanted to see what people were going to spit out. And surprisingly, one of the first people we talked to said Kristi Noem. And then later on in the weekend, when it came up in one of the panels, and I just heard somebody in the crowd say anybody but Noem. So like that's just I guess the picture of the differing opinions in there. So one woman's like Kristi Noem all the way. I have no problems with Kristi Noem. I know some people, if you're local to South Dakota, you probably have a completely different understanding of her. But I think on a national level, people really like her. But then there's other people who think she's basically like another type of Mike Pence. I don't know, but I said all that to say no protesters, and there's still, even in this crazy carnival of brainwashed MAGA people, there's still like, and I think that's literally the main difference between the corporate Democrats and the like right wing, is that on the right wing, people do have these discussions and they can agree to disagree, or sometimes people's minds can actually be changed. And I don't really see that happening as much on the left, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I saw 68% want that CPAC wanted Trump as the nominee, which is down from his TPUSA number of 78%. Eric Butler. The title track today, besides CPAC, was CNN discovering what China is, and I say that because Lena Wong, I think that's pronounced, from CNN International. Wow, it really comes into play everywhere. So she goes to Beijing, or she's in Beijing, and she basically realizes what everybody's been saying is coming to North America and the Western world. She says, quote, "Life in Beijing, relentless COVID testing and health apps that dictates where I go. Green code is needed to enter public areas. Red means quarantine isolation. Authorities track people's movements through these apps. Concern is this surveillance will stay long after COVID is gone." Gee, you wonder, like, are any of the dots getting connected here, Eric? China, apps, COVID restrictions lasting, government telling you where you need to go. And we don't have to watch her video. It's just her going through and just being shocked at everything. Of course, she's wearing a mask. She's in China. She has to. But this is exactly what people talk about in the Western world, that these apps, which we have in Canada, and I was telling you we have it's called Arrive Can, it's called. You have to download it. There's seniors that they're fining $5,000 or more for not having an app on their phone because, of course, they don't know how to use it. But what they do, Eric, is you have to download this app to get back into Canada, tell them your vaccination status, tell them your test. It gets connected. You have to go to a government testing place. Then when you get back, this is if you're unvaccinated, you have to quarantine still, and then you have to do testing through the time you're there. You have to check in with the app every day. It asks you questions. You could be visited by the government if they want you to. It's insane stuff. And of course, everybody believes that this is going to be the digital ID, And the tracking app, which of course they're not going to get rid of in China. There's no way. They already track everywhere you go with facial recognition. But in Canada, this is what everybody thinks is going to turn into the digital ID, because they're going to frame it as, and they're already starting this, they're going to frame it as, oh, the wait times at the airport are so long because of paperwork. We're just going to go paperless, and it's going to be so much better, you guys. You just do your app. And of course, it's going to track where you are as soon as you come into the country, and they're going to get everybody to download it. This is in the World Economic Forum of Agenda 2030, the permanent digital ID. They tried to roll it out before provincially here in Ontario with a digital ID. Not much people picking up on that, of course, but now this is how they slide it in, and you can see it. Like, if China's doing it, you can better believe Canada's probably going to do it, and China is going full bore with it. Whereas in Canada, they know they have to do it step by step because people will forget about it. So right now, it's just for travel. They recognize that the airports are the worst they've ever been. Toronto's international airport, called Pearson, is ranked number 1 in the world for canceled flights right now, and I think number 4 for delayed flights. Might be vice versa, but it's right at the top of the shit list. And they just had a press conference the other day saying, we need this app because it'll make things go faster. And, they're laying the brickwork for saying this is what everybody's going to need, because they don't want people. You waste too much time at kiosks, and you waste too much time talking to people. It could be so much faster. Or just do what the rest of the world does and stop restricting people from coming into your country.
Well,
that's what I
also, and maybe this is a bridge too far. Maybe these dots are not connected at all. But I feel like even the QR codes, the restaurants that won't give you a menu, that's like a little step in that direction. Like, well, it's just so much easier. It's more sanitary. Like, we're not going to give you a paper menu or a laminated menu. You got to use the QR code. And again, like I said, perhaps that's not a straight line, but I do think they kind of work in tandem with, just convincing you that everything needs to be digital. And, we're all guilty of doing the social media thing and the Netflix and all the iPhones and iPads and all that stuff. We're all guilty of it. Nobody, I mean, I don't know, the Amish or something. Nobody can really say they don't use this stuff. So it's just the little steps. And I say that only because, at one of the restaurants we went to here, it's like, they do have menus. If you ask for a menu, they will give you a menu, but they're very big on the QR code. But outside of that, and you can not fact check me because it's my opinion, and you might not change my mind, but you can argue against that. That's sure. Perhaps those things aren't connected. I think they are. But besides that, it's funny to watch them. I mean, are we genuinely to believe that they're just now starting to get this? Like, did they truly didn't see this stuff before? We see it also with the story about the Americans going to Mexico City or whatever. Oh, these people don't like that you're showing up and changing the landscape of their neighborhood. You think? I mean, this is not rocket science. The same thing with Eric Adams and Muriel Bowser. So New York City mayor, Washington, D.C. mayor. Well, you can't send them here. It's not sustainable. So is that not the similar thing? She's like, look how extreme this is. And we're like, yeah, we've been trying to tell you how extreme this is, and nobody cared until it hits home for you. And now you're like, oh, well, this has to change. It's like, guys, I don't know if wake up is the thing to say. That's corny, and we overuse the sheep analogy and all that stuff. But yeah, we've been saying this. Like, your Alex Jones was right jar is full. All right.
Well, I feel like when they get to this point, it's sort of on purpose. When CNN's telling you that there's too much digital security and there's too much wait times, and when Muriel Bowser is saying this is unsustainable, I feel like that's a talking point when they realize they're losing voters, and that they sort of have to shift their Overton window back. They want a bit back. They want to jump 16 frames over in their Overton window every time to the we're right and you're racist thing. But when the majority of the population is saying, no, we need to talk about this, they're forced to shift slightly back into sane land. And I have no doubt that they're only doing that because so many people have a problem. And the Biden administration goes from saying, as we covered last week, the wall's racist and there's no such thing as being an illegal person, to saying we're not rebuilding the wall, we're cleaning up the mess.
Yeah.
And we took that money and gave it back to military families. but we're also paying for it now, so we don't really know what we're doing. So when these things start to come from sources that we've never trusted, it's a bit of a battle between, oh, now you're finally starting to catch up to, why are you saying this now? Because with the establishment, and by establishment, I mean the Clintons, Obamas, the Bidens, China, and everybody involved with the World Economic Forum. Yeah, she's doing so much, right? I'm sure she's one of those people that just like sits there and gets the residual effect off of it because like they knew she would just play ball. Some even call her Black Hillary. Some Eric Butlers have been known to call her.
Well, I have a question about her that I realized I should have asked this a long time ago. She's a black woman, we're told, but her hair looks remarkably white. Like her hair is.
She's not only is she the first black vice president, she's also the first Indian vice president. So those two stories, yes, you can find those two stories in two different outlets. So she gets so many celebrations, but what she isn't is a person that was voted in any stretch of the imagination. She literally dropped out the first primary. She couldn't beat Beto. She couldn't beat Mayor Pete. Couldn't beat Eric Swalwell, even though they might have dropped out at the same time or in the same round. There's so many pathetic people that she couldn't beat. And because she plays ball so much, she gets included in the plan.
Well, she's the right color and she plays ball.
Right. That's I almost forgot about that. She gives them some sort of benefit. But then, of course, they hide her. Ever since her getting caught talking to the child actors, they kind of hide her. Biden's been hiding for 2 weeks now. Imagine if Trump had COVID for 6 days and said nothing. Imagine what would happen. Like, it's balls to the wall every single day. Where's Trump? He must be sicker than we think. But Joe Biden gets this weekend. He gets 2 bouts of COVID. And I have a friend who was like, of course Trump got better that quickly. He gets access to the Regeneron and the anti-clonal antibodies or whatever they are. And then Joe Biden's sick for 12 days or something. And it's like, oh, it has nothing. Where's this guy who's in power who has access to all the stuff? Either it's not real or he's just really old and already sick. I get the feeling that his screw-ups over and over again make it a lot easier of a decision to be like, let's not bring him into the limelight. But that's just me, Eric.
It's me too.
Hashtag me too. In terms of eating the bugs, though, Beyond Meat plans to lay off 4% of its global workforce. And as we can see, some Beyond Burger, Beyond Sausages. I've never understood why you're so against eating meat, but you want to pretend like you're doing it. Like you're just lying to yourself like a child. My mother used to tell me I was eating chicken when it was fish, and I started to figure out that these two things taste the same. But Beyond Meat is cutting 4% of global workforce, saying the layoffs are part of its plan to reduce costs of inflation, prompts consumers to buy less. As inflation prompts consumers to buy less expensive protein. But of course, real protein, Eric Butler, it is a rejection. Like anyone could say it's because of inflation, but it is a rejection of the product because what do you do when it's inflation? You raise the prices. If people still buy meat, they still buy cheese, they still buy milk, especially in Canada, all this stuff has risen completely through the roof because of inflation. But the dairy farmers of Canada don't close down. I'll give you another Canadian example. Schneider's Meat and Maple Lodge don't just close down because of inflation. They raise their prices. It sucks. It's the government's fault for the most part, even though Dairy Farmers of Canada is saying that they want to get emissions down. The beef farmers want to get emissions down by 2030, of course, because they're shills for the government. But you don't just cut people, like you don't just cut your company down because of inflation. You raise the prices because people aren't going to stop buying your product when everything is becoming too expensive, unless your products may be expendable, Eric. If it becomes too expensive for me to buy, let's say, I don't know, what's something you don't need? Chocolate cupcakes, some nice Hostess chocolate cupcakes.
Pringles or something, I don't know.
Pringles. If it becomes too expensive, I'm probably going to cut those out. But I'm not going to cut out, meat. I'm not just going to cut that out of my diet because while everything else is expensive, it also is. It's because people don't want your garbage meat. and people don't want to eat the bugs yet. I mean, I'm sure a lot of liberals will eat the bugs, and then a lot of survivalists, they're getting they've got the survival sponsors that Eric desperately wants.
Well, we could do coffee, or
and they're going to be like,
VPNs.
I'll eat bugs, I'll survive off anything.
We could do
I
the
have a friend like that
VPNs
too.
or the coffee, or
I'd love VPN sponsors are great, by the way. I've had one. I won't shout them out because they don't pay me anymore. But VPN sponsors are just like, just put the code, have the commercial. That's it. It's $3.99 a month. It's great. Everybody needs a VPN. The problem is, Eric, what if the VPN starts stealing your information and selling that?
Then
Is that why their prices are so low?
We got a problem. We definitely have a problem. That's a grift and a half right there, which I guess I never actually thought about, but totally possible and pretty dystopian. As far as
why aren't they buying the Beyond Meat, Eric?
Dude, this stuff. Obviously, we've seen the meme. I'm sure everybody's seen the meme of the way it's like propped up in the supermarket and it's all like sort of sank to the bottom of the case. Now, I didn't need any help from seeing that photo to steer me clear of this stuff. But it's always been a joke to me. Like I'm not even when I first started seeing it's not Beyond Meat, it's some other weird plant-based jerky that I actually just started seeing a couple months ago. It wasn't even that long ago.
It's mushroom, I'm guessing.
I honestly don't know. I didn't even read it, but it's like, dude, they're really pushing it hard. And to your very first point, I remember thinking about this even being young, because you remember when you used to have like vegetarian friends. It feels like they have been completely swallowed up by the green vegan climate extremists.
Mm-hmm.
Like you used to just be able to be a vegetarian and you would eat, cheese pizza and you might get like a black bean burger or something every now and then, but for the most part you just ate mac and cheese and vegetables and you had a whole bunch of stuff. But now they've gone so far because these people, they never know when to quit. The feminists, the extremists, they always can take something that seems like a good idea and drive it completely off the cliff. But I said all that to say, I guess your very first point is what, even as a young kid, maybe a teenager, I don't know. I remember thinking to myself, if you don't want to eat meat, just eat vegetables. There's so many you can eat. Eat potatoes and carrots and celery and rice and corn. You can eat all of this stuff. You don't have to pretend that you're eating meat. And then
yeah, I gotta be cool.
Yeah, and I actually went to a vegan place in Brooklyn one time, and I got I was just going with the flow. I didn't want to be that guy. I was like, yeah, how bad could it be, right? It was actually pretty bad, and I got cheese fries, but it was like or cashew cheese or something. And you're talking about, like, I get that this is a little bit different from the Beyond Meat, which I've never tried. Wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Maybe if now Kevin Hart is selling it too, by the way. I don't know if you knew this. Kevin Hart is doing YouTube ads selling Beyond Meat. But anyways, with this cashew cheese, which again is a little bit different, but you've got 36 seconds before this stuff turns into a consistency that you want nothing to do with. I mean, it's like, at first it feels like, okay, well, a potato's vegan, so you have the French fries there, and then this weird cashew cheese on top that's good for like the first two fries. And then as soon as that thing gets even close to room temp, it turns into it's like chewed up bubble gum on top of the fries. It's absolutely disgusting. They should just stop pretending. It's not like dude, I don't know how else to say it. It's like, dude, you could eat tomatoes and you could get a big salad. How about that? Go get a big salad.
A big salad.
Yeah.
I think the problem is getting protein. And
that's the price you
easier
pay.
way. Yeah.
That's what you signed up for. So stick with it.
If you're going to go I just don't understand the argument of you shouldn't consume animal products. Of course, nobody's saying go kill all the bison or the buffalo or whatever went extinct in the colonial times, if you will, or the early settlers of America.
Buffalo
but
kill.
Like, how are you going to say that it's not natural to eat meat? Like, you can survive without it, bro. Like, sure you can, but why would you do this? It's the easiest way to get protein, and millions of other animals do it, and it's like not unnatural at all. Hunt your own. I don't know how you could argue against somebody hunting and killing their own stuff. I get why people would have a problem with factory farming, but that's such a small fraction of what it is, unless you're in a place like China. I once had a friend who was he's not dead. I just don't know him anymore. Who was a dairy farmer, and he would be like, "Do you know how fucking well we treat these cows, and how like these people will find one or two terrible farmers that are assholes and they abuse their animals, and now everybody thinks that there's some Netflix documentary, and now everybody thinks it's the worst industry there is." And he's like, "We take such good care of these cows because they're so expensive. Like you go to
Yeah.
cow auctions to buy cows. That's how expensive they are."
And that's how it happens,
And
though. That's how it happens. Well, you see one picture of a turtle with a straw in his nose, and now we all have to use paper straws. And then you fast forward another couple years, and the same straws have now just been replaced with blue masks. It's like they take one little thing and drive it off the edge, bro.
from disgusting from cashew cheese into another form of disgusting. I haven't read this yet. It's from the Independent. I saw it today. What is vabbing? It's a UK paper. The new social media trend encouraging women to use their bodily fluids as fragrance, Eric. I wonder what that's going to mean. Has around 13 million views. Of course, it comes from TikToks. Here's a picture of flowery underwear. If you're in the mood, I'll blow this up a bit for those watching on uopod.com or on YouTube. If you're in the mood to try, I don't like it already, Eric. Who's the author? Salmon Javed. And we will look
New tab,
him,
yeah.
up after. If you're in the mood to try something new and eccentric, you can almost always count on TikTok for inspiration. While the platform has popularized plenty of delicious recipes, I won't read those, also prompted warnings from professionals over a slew of dangerous challenges, such as the more recent Blackout Challenge and last year's the Milk Crate Challenge. Not going to say which race predominantly participates in those, Eric Butler, but especially the Crate Challenge. I digress. Especially the Yaga Challenge, if you recall.
No, which one?
Yaga, where you pull somebody's hair.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Okay, well,
Whatever,
you're going to need to Google that. Vine was a terrible and terrific time. Over on dating TikTok, which apparently is a thing, users have come up with inventive ways to attract the opposite sex, including manifesting your partner through the whipper method. Okay, I don't care about that stuff. Get to the weirdest stuff. What is vabbing? In short, vabbing or vaginal dabbing. Okay. It's the practice of using bodily genital fluids as perfume. One TikTok user who participates at Julia explains that she takes her natural scent and dabs it on her wrists and the back of her ears, puts it on surfaces that don't touch other things, and don't rub your wrists on other people. This is a good way to get an STD, Eric, possibly monkeypox. The idea behind vabbing is that the fluids may contain pheromones. Well, yeah, but that's like natural. That doesn't mean you should rub it all over yourself. Like, that's so weird. And again, that's a way you could possibly contract diseases. Now, it probably won't survive out in the open, the virus. The theory goes that pheromones play a key role in how many animals communicate with each other. Therefore, they may play a role in attracting sexual. Okay, so this is TikTok science. This is exactly why China is destroying us, Eric, because this is what's at the front of the TikTok page. I don't know. I thought somehow it wouldn't even be this bad, but this is what I thought it was going to be.
I can't even, like, first of all, it's TikTok, right? So, like, how do I don't want to be a complete jerk about it, but it's like if you're surfing through dating TikTok and you're dabbing yourself with your own bodily fluids, then I don't think the odds are super high that you're out and about. I don't know. It seems weird. Like, you know, I learned
that's your last resort.
Yeah. It's just it's weird. And oh, that's her. All right.
Here's what she's been writing about: Rosie O'Donnell. Sean Bean doesn't regret his marriages. Kim Kardashian.
This is absolute poison, though. Because to hear about this after my bout with the
cheese,
the waterworks is the piss orgies that I have recently.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Introduced to.
There's actually urine orgies for monkeypox?
Yes, there is, and
that's interesting.
Yeah, dude. it's kind of traumatizing, bro, because I just wasn't I wasn't aware of how, no pun intended, I wasn't aware of how deep this rabbit hole actually goes. Like, you can't say, I don't know, what was a pig Latin, like fraud A, election A, I don't know. You can't, there's certain things that you can't talk about on Twitter, but there are other things that you are certainly more than welcome to show. I think I sent it to you last week, but you got the age restriction on it, so I didn't get the age restriction. I guess it's because, like you said, I put my birth date on there when I signed up for Twitter, I guess. But it's just weird that this would come on the heels of that. And maybe it's just, I mean, I'm not going to get conspiratorial on that. It's just like the monkeypox thing. And then you see some of the accounts and some of the stuff that the guys who ended up with monkeypox were doing. And then to have a girl on TikTok who's doing this, while not nearly as extreme, it's just gross. Like, why are you guys such degenerates? Like, how did that happen?
And then you're not allowed to talk about not having orgies. That's a big meme, I think, that's going around, that they won't say to stop the orgies. But I don't know. Like you said, if this is what
and
you're taking
the San
advice
Francisco
from,
thing,
what's
where
the
they
San
say
Francisco thing?
the guide to the orgy. Well, if you have sores, pop on a Band-Aid, wear long sleeves.
It said that?
Oh, that's real. That's a real thing. Like, I could send it to you if you want. 100% real. Now, here's the thing, though. Those sores don't just pop up on the elbow like you fell off a skateboard. You don't just put a Band-Aid on a little scrape. Those sores pop up in high traffic areas. So it's very dark
and they
stuff.
Probably
bro.
explode too, to be very graphic about it.
Very dark stuff. So this lady rubbing her juices all over herself just.
I guarantee you she's fat. In any event, these. There was something I wanted to ask you about there that we hadn't talked about. Oh, have you seen the Woodstock documentary yet? I don't know if it came out all while you were away. You're still away, but maybe that's something we should watch.
Was it on
Woodstock,
Netflix or
3-piece on Netflix? Yeah, it's so good because it's one of those things where you enjoy like yelling at the screen because it's hippies. They think everything's going to be fine. They think it's going to be peace and love. And then there's hardcore capitalists that don't care about the people at the concert. It's a lot of fun. I think maybe we should watch that on here.
People have been tricked once again. They've been
it was
being
1999. It was a
was
different time. Woodstock 99.
Oh, I thought it was like from the 60s, but they're talking about like the more.
But apparently Woodstock, the brand, was all the one guy. So they tried it in 94 and it basically got rained out. And they thought that if they did it in 99, everybody was going to clean up after themselves, even though there was no water and overpriced food and it was 100 degrees out.
Was at?
DMX was there. Okay. Everybody was there. All the people. They admit that they didn't listen to the music, like Korn and Limp Bizkit and stuff, so they didn't know that they would be angry music, and it's a good old time. But before we go, you know how I've been talking about Andrew Yang lately.
Yes.
I just feel like he can't be this dumb. 78% of Americans would either vote for a third party or would consider it. Only 22% wouldn't. But they don't, Andrew Yang. We're 2 years away from since an election, and they don't, Andrew Yang. Not even 20% of people vote for a third party. They're not going to vote for a third party of more than 5%. It's just like he shows his YouGov economist poll.
Now,
only 22% wouldn't. They would consider it, but they won't do it, Eric Butler. That's my point here. Like, he's not... I get that he's got to prop up his party, but, like, this is all he's got, man. Like, he's got, like, 1 or 2 policies that he champions, which are garbage, and then he's like, oh, people said that they might vote for a third party. Only 22% said they wouldn't vote for a third party. Wow, this is such great stuff, Andrew Yang.
But, now, in his particular case... I mean, he's saying third party, but he's obviously referencing his, which, I mean, is still like the 4th or 5th. I mean, we have Libertarian, we have Green Party. So does he think that this party is immediately going to jump those parties that can't get any votes?
I think it's funny that cut off over here where it's saying the rest of the parties, Democrats, Independents, and it doesn't go into listing the other ones. I think that's pretty funny, but I don't know. Something about him, Eric, just bothers me in the fact that it's like, oh, it's cool and fun the way like we're not serious about anything and like we're the forward party. We're not left, right? We're just forward. It's like a joke. It's like Sideshow Bob, like I mentioned before. Somebody actually corrected me like that on that one. And it was
We're stepping on the
not
brakes.
Krang and Kodos, remember, from The Simpsons,
yeah.
not the aliens. It was when Sideshow Bob says you're selling your future short, is when he goes, he doesn't know where he's coming or going. But I digress. It's the aliens that are holding hands as Bob Dole and Bill
George
Clinton.
Bush. Oh, okay, all right, Bill. Okay.
But I
vaguely
just feel
remember
like
that.
if you believe in Andrew Yang and you're a follower of his, and for some reason you think that his purpose is to take us forward, don't you expect better than this? Like, don't you expect better policies? Don't you expect like better than a poll where it's just like,
No, they
oh,
don't,
people
bro.
might vote for us, even though we have evidence of less than 2 years ago. Like, you think it's going to jump by 10%? You think people are going to vote off the board even that much? No, there's no way. Like, this is just being like, if I was to be like, hey, my YouTube reach has this much. I've never gotten this many views ever, but my reach is there's 30 million people in Canada
Yeah.
I could be getting to.
Yeah. Look, bro. It unfortunately, I don't know when this happened. It's probably been this way since before we were both at least privy to politics, like young or even perhaps before we were born. But I don't think, especially in the social media age, unfortunately, it's just a matter of trickery. Nobody, very few people who aren't, neck deep in politics, as they do it for a job, whatever. They don't have any, bro. There's people out there who are in politics who will say, they'll tell you that we should ban all guns, but can't tell the difference between a 22 and a 9. I mean, it's just all about the brainwashing, which is so sad. And look, I'm guilty of it too, bro. I don't know about all these policies, but which is, and this is what's really scary. And I think it was Lauren Boebert from Colorado who said something along the lines of it should be illegal to vote on a bill without reading it. And that was met with crazy backlash. And it's
right.
like,
Didn't she say she wanted like 3 days to be able to read it? And
yeah,
that was supposedly bad.
Yeah, and pearls were clutched because they don't.
You must be stupid if you can't read 1,000 pages in 5 minutes.
Exactly. So they barely even know what's actually going on. We still will never know who's actually handing down the orders, whether it's Barack Obama or George Soros or Klaus Schwab or wherever these people are. We have no idea where it's coming from. They barely read it. And if they read it, and they won't have the plausible deniability to say, oh, well, I just had to go with I mean, it's a complete and total mess to the point where, and for the record, Andrew Yang and his little math hats is a total Trump ripoff. And Trump knew that. And that's why the bright red MAGA hat was just a quick and easy way to get these people, because, I mean, the Democrats had no party. All they did, you can leave them a rope, bro, and they're going to hang themselves, but they will also cheat, or they would never cheat. They would actually never cheat. So we got a mess on our hands, bro. And it's like we're stuck here trying to claw our way out of a wet paper bag, and it feels impossible. I'm not sure. So I mean, look, bro, shout out to Andrew Yang. You obviously have this vitriol for him that I don't quite have. I don't like the guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of Andrew Yang.
I just think he's so dumb.
Yeah, and you're welcome to that. But I do the only thing is, like, at least he's trying, I guess. But
it's all just a front so he can get donations, so he can try to start a shitty business.
A grift, and he'll start another startup and pretend. But maybe this will work, like kind of how we saw. Yeah. Oh, the classic. I love this one so much. And of course, he's wearing the math hat. So those are the people that, yeah, you nailed it there. I will credit where it's due. This is absolutely insane. The guy shoulder tapping him like this one's gonna live forever. Big dog.
Please stop.
Yeah.
Shout out to my guy writer Doug, who always brings this up. whenever I rage about Andrew Yang.
And this is
right.
the first thing that's the precursor to the piss orgies right there.
That's right. Sponsored by Andrew Yang. What's the matter? If I'm president, then you'll get $100 towards a piss orgy. UnauthorizedOpinions.com, UOPod.com. Eric is on Tatum Report. Look out for altreporter.com. You can find them on Instagram, though. That's where that Alex Stein thing is, if you're looking for that. Andrew says TV.com for me. My guests last week were who? Josiah David from Slightly Offensive. He's one of the people who works on that show with Elijah, and also Huey Media, Rob from Huey Media. And Rob from Huey Media is just like, don't use my real name, bro. I'm just like, just make up a name, Rob. You know how many people are going to ask? You know how many people are going to ask you moving forward every single time? Just put me as Rob. But shout out for Rob, because I like that guy's opinion. I feel like he's good on camera. I think he needs a job somewhere, maybe at Alt Reporter or ericbutler.gov.
It's funny you bring that up really quick. I feel like we should be using our real names. Like I've struggled with changing my accounts to just Eric Butler. Of course, I'm not the only Eric Butler on the planet, so it's going to be a little bit tough. But it's something it doesn't sit right with me when you're trying to hide for some reason. I guess there's a bunch of things, but
he says he
that's
gets
part
death
of it.
threats. But come on,
that's part of it, bro. Let's go.
Exactly. I said, says the guy who lives in a country where you can buy any gun that you want. I have to just be like, this is wonderful. I don't want to commit hate speech.
So yeah, use your real name, bro. I'm not gonna do it because I don't want to violate him, but we'll be all right, bro. Just pull up. Tell them to pull up, and we're not.
I said, just go with Rob Huey.
Yeah, I just figured that's what it was, but I don't know, so I won't say.
No, it's not. Apparently, it's actually Barack. What's the alleged original name for they claim what his real name is. Barry Soetoro, I believe, is what.
Oh yeah, Soetoro, something like that. Yeah, whatever.
UOPod.com. We will be back next week.
Turn it up, Jordan.